Hello and welcome to the Glamptuary podcast, where we talk about the outdoor hospitality industry, and I'm your host, Bobby Marsden. We're going to get political in episode 3, kind of. Our guest does work in politics, but I would not call him a politician in the traditional sense. His name is Conor Hall, and he is the Director of Outdoor Recreation for the state of Colorado, and he works in the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. Conor is a native Coloradan, an avid outdoorsman, and he was one of the key players responsible for launching the wildly successful Outside Fest, which is now known as Outside Days. Now in its third year, Outside Days saw over 35,000 attendees in its second year. Its third year begins on May 29th and runs through May 31st. Last year's speakers included Diana Nyad, Honnold, and David Blaine. There were over 100 exhibitors, a film festival, dozens of bands, and lots of excitement about the outdoor hospitality and recreation industry. We're going to talk with Conor about the birth of Outside Days and how that partnership was formed between Outside Magazine, who is the primary sponsor, and the Colorado state government. We'll also talk about the socio and economic impact outdoor recreation has in the state of Colorado, and we're also going to cover the Trump administration's policies that are negatively affecting the outdoor hospitality and recreation industries. There's a lot to unpack, so let's get to it. Enjoy episode 3 on season 5 of the Glamptuary podcast. Hello, Conor. Welcome to the Glamptuary podcast.
Thanks, Bobby. Great to be with you. It's a warm mid-March day, which is a little concerning to me as a skier and the head of the outdoor rec office, but God, it is a beautiful day out there still.
It is a beautiful day. Great to be with you. Now, you are a native Coloradan, I believe, correct?
Yeah, grew up in a really small, kind of weird mountain town of Crestone, Colorado. I can say that fondly because I'm from there, but kind of about 92 people, kind of down by the sand dunes. It's known for having a bunch of different world religious centers there. There are 14 world religious centers, as well as some cults. It's kind of infamous in some ways, but also incredible outdoors and mountains. And I had a wonderful childhood growing up there.
Yeah, well, the entire state is gorgeous. I'm originally from Minnesota, lived in California. In California, we had such an abundance of diversity. And I would say Colorado is very similar to that in many respects. It's just lacking an ocean.
Although, you can still do some great some river surfing. We got a couple lakes. I was just talking to the folks behind the Colorado Sailing Club, a pretty robust sailing scene. So, we don't have an ocean, and, we probably won't for many millions of years, but we do still have some, pretty awesome river and lake activities here. But California's wonderful.
Yeah, well, I've done my fair share of whitewater rafting and kayaking in Colorado. So, yeah, definitely concur. The only thing I think I haven't done yet is I haven't tubed down the Platte yet. That's a bucket list before I ever depart.
Bobby, I guess maybe I shouldn't say this publicly, but I actually haven't tubed down the Platte. So maybe we got to take put a time in the calendar to do a little Platte River tube. And I've done, Clear Creek a ton of times, tubed in, rivers and creeks all around the state, but I've never done the Platte. So we'll find some time. I'm down for that.
All right, it's a date this summer.
Okay.
Well, tell us about your background, because you were born in Colorado. I know that you've had a pretty long political career, and you've kind of weaved through the ranks in Colorado to land where you are as the Director of Outdoor Recreation for the state. But talk about kind of how you got into that. Were you growing up in Southern Colorado and said, I really want to work in politics and for the state, or what got you into it?
Yeah, great question. Part of it was, growing up in rural Colorado, where kind of the outdoors were everything. The school that I went to, the Crestone Charter School, was just a 2-room, double-wide trailer. And so really the classroom was the outdoors, and we didn't have TV. And so again, every waking moment was kind of spent in the outdoors. We weren't in school. And so there's always this strong kind of outdoor ethic. My dad helped found the land trust there. He's an attorney, but conservation is his passion. And so we were raised with that. And, I think also seeing, and sometimes, in that rural and poor area, feeling a little forgotten by, kind of what was happening in Denver, or the power centers. And I actually remember Ken Salazar, who went on to be, Attorney General for the state, and a U.S. Senator and Secretary of Interior, and one of our finest leaders, I think it's safe to say, came to speak at the school when he was just starting to run, I think, for his first office. This was probably, mid 90s. And I just remember, hearing kind of his message. And, he grew up in the Valley. Salazar's have been down there for a long time. And just hearing how he talked about the importance of representing your community. And if you didn't feel heard, being the person to stand up and be that voice, and take that charge of public service. And I was pretty young at the time, but I was just so impressed by that. And he was the first, and maybe only that I can remember during that time, important elected official to kind of come through. And so, I think there were a couple stories like that, the idea of public service was always really interesting and compelling to me. And I thought you could make a great impact that way, and help your community ultimately. And I've been really, I've been lucky. I've had a tremendous amount of really good mentors. I, moved back to Colorado 11 or 12 years ago from living abroad, kind of advising foreign governments and nonprofits on global comparative climate policy. And I came back to work for then Governor John Hickenlooper. And I loved his brand of pragmatic, collaborative leadership. And I held a bunch of different roles for him. But the main role that I always had was I staffed him everywhere, every external event or meeting. So the two of us, sometimes spent 13 hours a day together, most days. And he was just a great mentor, and he's still a very, very close friend. And in shadowing him essentially for nearly 4 years, nearly the entirety of his second term as governor, it was like getting a PhD in the issues of Colorado. And one of the first things I ever worked on for him was helping to create the outdoor recreation industry office 10 years ago now. And, we were the second state to do it. We did it right around when the Outdoor Industry Association, OIA, had first captured the economic impact numbers and the jobs numbers state by state for the outdoor industry. And, no surprise, they were enormous. And so we were walking out of that meeting, and the governor turned to me and said, I want to create an office to be and serve as a steward for this critical industry in the state of Colorado, and help support it and help it grow, help protect, these lands and waters where we recreate, all those different things. So ultimately, that's what we ended up doing. We hired this amazing guy named Luis Benitez to be the first director of the office, famous mountain climber and guide. He did a wonderful job. Nathan Fay also did a wonderful job after that. And now I'm the third director. And really, that is our goal. We serve as the steward to the outdoor industry and more broadly, the ecosystem. And we work across a couple different verticals. So there's, economic development, and we're housed within the economic development and international trade arm of the state. There's also conservation, education, and workforce development. And then public health and trying to create more equitable access to the outdoors for all Coloradans, which has been a really big push for Governor Pulvis, our current governor. He's supportive of the office and all of this work, but he's always been a great champion for equitable access to the outdoors.
That's awesome. Was the transition from your first governor to the second governor pretty smooth?
Yeah, I mean that's one great thing. But been lucky to have two great governors who really understand the importance of this, and have both really been champions of this office. And kind of that's what we found a lot of in Colorado. Like this is an issue that unites more than it divides in Colorado. 96% of Coloradans participate in outdoor recreation in some form every year. That transcends rural and urban, red and blue, any seemingly insurmountable boundary that you can put up. We all love and appreciate the outdoors, functionally all of us. And that's true. We work really closely with folks on all sides of the aisle. And I travel extensively in rural Colorado, helping folks think through how they want to grow their outdoor economies, and what we need to support and what we need to protect in terms of conservation. And so yeah, to answer your question, we've had great support, certainly from both governors, and I'm very hopeful that whoever is our next governor will carry on that mantle. I think all the folks who are running are big champions. We've worked with all of them, actually, on both sides of the aisles, the favorites. We've worked with all of them to pass good things to support the outdoors, support the outdoor industry.
The last time I think I was checking on some statistics, Colorado, I think, ranked third out of all 50 states for outdoor recreation, which is completely understandable. I mean, it's such a beautiful state. There's so many diverse things that you can do here. What are some other statistics that you have that kind of speak to how important it is, not only from the consumer side, but also from the small business operator side?
Yeah. So a lot of different kind of measurements to measure the outdoors, measure the outdoor industry. I'll say from the most comprehensive look at the outdoor industry comes from the statewide Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan, or SCORP, which is a study we do every 5 years with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And that puts the total economic output or impact of the outdoor industry at close to $66 billion, making it the largest industry in the state of Colorado, and over 400,000 jobs. So that's direct and indirect. But that means that about 1 in 8 Coloradans are working in or around the outdoor industry, and 11 billion in taxes at the state and local level, and the federal level as well. And so all kinds of impacts that way. It's not only core to our brand as a state, to our identity, the reason that so many of us have called this place home, but it's really the economic lifeblood of the state as well.
Has this, you mentioned that you started this department, formed this department 10 years ago, which is really surprising to me, and saying it's the second state, which means nobody else is doing it either. What was the history like in the state of Colorado? Because the outdoor recreation industry has always been such a huge component of Colorado. And I'm talking about tourists coming from overseas. They go to ski resorts, the locals that are supporting just the ski industry alone.
Yeah.
What's the history like as far as, not having this office, and what kinds of things are happening?
Yeah. So appreciate that question, Bobby. Colorado has an interesting history, especially when it comes to tourism in this space. Back in the early 90s, it's a much longer, bigger story, but we basically said, we're not going to spend money on, destination marketing, trying to get folks to visit Colorado. Ultimately, what happened was, it had a pretty detrimental impact on our economy, and especially these resort communities that are heavily reliant on visitors, and especially overnight and international visitors who just spend much more. They really, really struggled. And it took years and years and years, even once we started spending again, to get that economic impact back and to get those numbers back. And that's the reality of it. In the state of Colorado, I think our most recent data is from I want to say 2024, the Colorado Tourism Office, led by Tim Wolf, who does an incredible job, might have slightly more updated numbers, but the numbers I remember are from 2024. And that was that we had 95.4 million visitors. And, the industry, the tourism industry, which we count a lot of that is part of the outdoor economy if the tourism is related to the outdoors. So separating out kind of the tourism industry that is outdoors and tourism beyond just the outdoors as well, uh, that economy contributes about 29 billion to our economy, and 188,000 jobs. So just again, major driver there. And what we've seen is, especially in this past year with the kind of new administration um, across the country. Of course, international tourism is down,
Yeah.
just about everywhere, um, and so it's starting to soften here in Colorado, and we are
Mhm.
a little bit concerned. Um, Again, the tourism industry, the tourism office, I should say, might have slightly more updated numbers, but we're seeing, in early 25 at least, definitely some softening. Hotel occupancy was a couple points down. Hotel revenue was a little down. Short term occupancy in Q1 of last year was down 10%, and
Mhm.
those trends have kind of continued. And so, it's something Tim and I talk a lot about. Folks need to understand that, again, like the outdoor industry, you need to keep investing in this, and it doesn't just happen magically. Tim and his team they win multiple awards every year for having the most effective uh, tourism commercials, and the highest ROI in terms of actually translating that into folks visiting here.
Yeah.
And but Colorado spends way less than just about any state on destination marketing. And so, and their budget has remained flat and has even been cut, I think, in the past couple of years. And so that's a challenge for us as an economy and as communities that rely on tourism. And the tourism office has also really stepped up in the face of that increase in visitors over the pandemic to do even more than they've ever done in terms of destination stewardship, and
Mhm.
how to protect these places that we're bringing folks to. How do we run campaigns and educate visitors on leave no trace principles or wildfire safety, for example.
Yeah.
So we had the big Do Colorado Right campaign that hopefully many folks have seen. There's a lot of great examples of that. But we're at this interesting inflection point, I would say, especially from the tourism angle of, things are really starting to soften. We're starting to feel some of those ill effects, and we've got to invest in maintaining this important driver in the economy.
Yeah. Well, from consumers coming in, they're looking at prices going up due to tariffs and other things that the current, federal administration is putting into place, and that's making tourism difficult. That makes it harder for the small business operators who are leading the guides and opening up the outdoor hospitality resorts, the RV parks. A lot of these are small businesses, they struggle. And so if there's a decline, even a small decline, it can be very detrimental. What have you noticed, speaking of the current administration, what kind of difficulties have you seen that have arisen in Colorado based on things like staff being cut at national parks or tariffs happening that increase spending on the little items that you have to factor in when you're taking a vacation? Like, if you feel like some of the policies that are being put in place are affecting what could be taking place in outdoor hospitality and recreation in Colorado?
Yeah, great question. There's certainly been a number of impacts. This has been, one of the most kind of disruptive years, certainly in my memory. From a tariff perspective, Governor Polis just commissioned and released a study on businesses across Colorado and the impact of the tariffs. And I believe it was 87% of the businesses said they had been hurt by tariffs, or that impact was negative. There were a handful that were neutral, and that remaining 13% or so, and then I think a small handful that were positive. But overwhelmingly, the impact has been negative. And I think for both the outdoor recreation and the tourism industry, that is certainly true. There was a Outdoor Industry Association study that said 84% of their members were had felt a negative impact or anticipated a negative impact. And the reality of really both the tourism and the outdoor economy is that a lot of it's really small business, and the margins aren't huge. They're not tech margins or oil and gas margins, as anyone in this industry knows. And so there's just a little bit less insulation to any type of economic uncertainty, no matter where that comes from. That could be from tariffs, that could be from, the less, permits being available or moving quickly because staff has been cut at our federal land management agencies. We've certainly felt that across the federal land management agencies. We partner really closely with all of those folks, the National Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, and they're amazing. They're amazing and important partners. And when I think about public servants, those are public servants doing that work. It's not easy work. It's thankless, but their numbers have just decreased in some cases, in some agencies, to almost unfathomable levels, and people are just stretched really thin, and so that just already, even before this past year, they were understaffed. I think most folks would say, and stretched thin, but it's just really accentuated a lot of those problems and issues. And so any of the folks that are still there that I know, I mean, they're working incredibly hard. If you see them, thank them. But it's just they need more resources to do the job they're tasked with doing. I would say we hope that again, these issues shouldn't really be partisan, and all Americans, the vast majority, I should say, of Americans enjoy the outdoors. There was a poll from Colorado College that they do every year that said close to 85% of voters in the West, it's a Western states poll, support conservation in public lands. There's a Trust for Public Land poll nationally that said 74% of Americans are against the sale of public lands. And so again, these really should not be partisan issues. I think we've just got to communicate that to the powers that be, that this should be a winning issue. This is something anyone should be able to get behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's better financially, it's better for our health, it's better for so many things. And I think raising awareness, maybe can get the voice amplified loud enough where the people that aren't here are just not listening. Maybe they'll start to listen. Speaking of that, so one of my favorite festivals is Outside Fest. Now it sounds like renamed Outside Days.
Yeah.
And I know that you were instrumental in setting that up, but I'm going to kind of let you explain what this is, explain how your office got involved in it, and talk about how you feel it's been helping to impact people's awareness and just engagement with the outdoors.
Yeah, very happy to talk about it. This is one of my favorite projects. Outside Days, formerly the Outside Festival and Summit. Outside Days is a little easier to say, which is nice. This was an idea that kind of came to me as I was starting this role about 4 years ago. I was going around talking with different outdoor industry leaders and just asking them what they wanted to see, and especially kind of in the event space. We were negotiating with Outdoor Retailer at that point, and almost all of them said, look, some of the old trade shows might not have the same value for us. We might not go back. There was some uncertainty there. But every single one of these leaders was like, well, look, we want and need a place to come together still. There's huge value in that for us. And especially come together around some of these issues that impact all of us, like protecting our public lands, or some of these trade and tariff issues or supply chain issues were pretty significant at that time. And so, they were like, we want that. And, many of them were like, we'd love some way to engage with the consumer a little bit more and a little bit more directly in real life, not just
Yeah.
online. And, because this industry has really moved, huge growth in direct to consumer, of course. And so we're like, looked out across the landscape, and that didn't really exist. And I was talking to Robin Thurston, who's the CEO of Outside Interactive, really the biggest media group in the space. And he was having a lot of the same conversations, and he had a very similar idea. And so we were like, well, I don't think it exists. Let's do it together. Let's the state of Colorado and the Outside Interactive, this iconic media brand, feels like a good coupling right there. And so we created this thing, and the idea very simply was, create like the South by Southwest of the outdoors. And so like a really good industry convening where we're bringing together the top, thought leaders to work on issues like the issues I previously mentioned, but then also, something that brings in the enthusiasts, all the folks who love the outdoors, and the folks that, maybe have had barriers but would like to get into the outdoors, and how do we inspire those folks to spend more time outside? It's been this awesome, wild, creative project that government agencies aren't normally like think of or catalyzing, but credit to Governor Polis, my boss as well, Eve Lieberman and Pat before, for like seeing what this could be, and it's a little risky starting something like this. Large scale events are very hard. There's probably listeners who've been in them. You certainly, I know, Bobby, have started a number of festivals. I should have probably talked to you first. You could have learned a lot.
It's nice to be an attendee and just get to take it all in and enjoy it versus being the person stressing out about what's happening. I mean, when I attended it, I wasn't sure what to expect. And I think, I read somewhere that there was maybe an expectation of 5,000 to 10,000 attendees, and it ended up being 20,000. And then the next year was maybe we'll meet that again. And then it was double that again. Yeah. But I think how you guys nailed it, number one, the location, which you being in the government probably helped clear some of the red tape to get that right in front of the Capitol. But yeah, but you do a great job of balancing education, entertainment, and engagement. Because trade shows, a lot of times, they're just a lot about information, but it can be overload. There's not a lot of entertainment there. So why would consumers really go to that? And I do think it's trying to find that connection point between the providers and the people that are giving the service or the destination or something, and then the consumers in a way that they can enjoy it. And that's why it's awesome that you guys have great musical talent. I think this year Death Cab for Cuties coming, one of my favorite bands. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that. You get great bands, you got a great location, you got a great setup, and you have great panels. Diana Nyad has been a speaker, just you really have covered all the bases to give people a way in. And I think that's the trick when you want to get people outside, is you got to give them a way in, meet them where they are, and then you might be able to retain them. So I think it's great what you guys are doing.
Well, thanks, Bob. That means a lot coming from you, who knows so much more about this than I ever did. Probably still do. But it's been fun, and the music obviously is such a draw. But yeah, you mentioned incredible speakers track. That's one of the things I'm always most excited about. We've created a whole film festival alongside it, and tell all kinds of cool and inspiring stories. There's 150 brands doing neat activations. So it's on a really good path. I think it feels like one of those things that could and hopefully will be around for a long time, and just continue to be a space where we can all come together. Folks who love the outdoors from all different backgrounds, and celebrate the outdoors, celebrate each other, celebrate Denver and Colorado. And it's been actually a good tourism driver too. The first year we did it, the experts were like, well, you might get, I don't know what it was maybe 6% from out of state visitors. They were like, that's probably a good mark to aim for. And I think, that year we were at like 20% out of state. Last year we were at 25%. So like we're bringing folks in from all over, which is great too, and again helps our tourism economy, helps certainly Denver too. We're going to be at the Auraria campus this year, and we've added a third night of music, where Death Cab for Cutie is playing, and so we just also continue to grow and expand it in cool and interesting ways. And on the industry side, we've got of course the industry summit, which is always Friday, all kinds of amazing programs and speakers. 60 speakers, and the CEO of Patagonia and REI, and all kinds of great folks. Then we've also got Outside Ignite on that Thursday, big pitch competition for early stage outdoor industry startups. And I'm reviewing some of those right now. There's some awesome ideas. We'll give $100,000 value prize. Yeah, Bobby, hope to see you there this year. We'll maybe we'll take in some Death Cab songs.
Absolutely. Well, maybe we'll tube afterwards when it gets warmer, because at this particular festival, it does happen, I believe, end of May, early June, correct?
Yep. It's this year it's the festival itself is the last 3 days. And May, the industry piece starts right before the festival. But it so far, and I think this will be the idea, is that it will always fall, that kind of week and weekend after Memorial Day.
Well, keep up the great work, Conor. It's awesome to know that someone like you that's so passionate about the outdoors, but also understands the system and how to help it along. You can continue to support the outdoor hospitality industry, the outdoor recreation providers. I think if they know that there's someone like you on the inside that's going to champion what their dreams are about maybe launching a business in this industry, consumers are going to know that businesses that are thriving here, well thought out, well supported, it just attracts money, it attracts small business, it attracts attention. And I think what you're doing with Outside Days is only going to amplify that. So keep up the awesome work. I will look forward to rocking out with Death Cab with you. And in the meantime, take care, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bobby. And let me say one more thing, because you made such a great point there. Our whole mission with the OREC office, as we call it, is all about just supporting this industry and ecosystem. And we've got all these different programs to do this. So, if you're in this ecosystem and you need some sort of support, or you have some great idea, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Even at Outside Days, for example, we're doing a whole Camp Colorado zone where we'll be featuring, all these different small Colorado brands and nonprofits in the outdoor ecosystem, and just trying to give them some exposure to a bigger, broader audience. And it's going to be a cool spot. So come check that out too. But that's all, that's what we're all about. We've got a bunch of different ways to do that. We're, a small team, but super nimble and creative, and how we support the industry. And so always happy to chat. But thank you so much, Bobby, for giving me the platform, and really enjoyed our conversation today. And look forward to seeing you in person at the end of May there at Outside Days.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Conor. I really appreciate it. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll see you later this summer.
You too. Thanks, Bobby. Cheers.
I'd like to thank Conor again for taking the time and sitting down and talking with us today, and for all of his efforts to ensure outdoor enthusiasts continue to have access to all the beautiful landscapes Colorado has to offer. I also applaud his continued efforts in support of Outside Days, and I'm looking forward to rocking out the Death Cab for Cutie with you, Conor. If you'd like to learn more about Conor or get in contact with him, you can find him at oedit.colorado.gov/Conor-Hall. That is oedit.colorado.gov/CONOR-HALL. Links to Outside Days will also be in the show notes in case you're looking to get tickets, which you should. And if you like what you heard today and you want to follow Glamptuary, you can do so by visiting our website, which is www.glamptuary.com. That is www.glamptuary.com. Our social handle is @Glamptuary. We'd love to welcome any new followers. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Namaste.